It's great to be back here on Webinar Wednesday. I know we've had a lot of awesome topics related to industrial training and workforce development and new technologies throughout over the summer. But I'm just extremely excited for today's episode of Webinar Wednesday, because we get to work with all sorts of incredible programs, students, instructors, and we have some of my favorites that will be joining us a little bit later today. But this topic that we're going to be covering, why CTE can give university students a competitive edge, it's something that's a little near and dear to my heart, just because I am the poster child for a student that was never exposed to advanced technology on my career path, going through kindergarten all the way up to the university level. I love the career path that I took. I went into education. I used to teach spec ed, middle school science and social studies. I'm really proud of that career path, but also my work at Lab Midwest has really brought to light my affinity for working with mechatronics and robotics and PLC programming and fluid power, all of these things that I think are just fascinating. I just never was exposed to that at a young age. So that really leads me to, our mission here at ATS Lab Midwest. We truly get up every morning based off of this mission, and that's to secure the American dream for the next generation of STEM and career and technical education talent. And we don't just mean one specific group of students. We really believe that all students can be exposed to awesome, authentic careers that lead to a life sustainable career path. And it really is, even for the students that are going directly into industry, going into the workforce, what are the certifications or the credentials that they need to be successful, or whether a student is going into a 1 or 2 year program at the community and technical college, how can we build dual credit enrollment pathways and really get more interest into those really advanced 1 and 2 year programs. And then, of course, even for our students who are on the 4-year engineering path or going into another type of STEM career, how can we make them a better engineer? How can we get them more familiar with the technology and the mechanical aptitudes that they will have to undoubtedly see when they get to that post-secondary career that they've chosen? So this mission is really, really important to us, and we truly believe that all students should have the same career opportunities, no matter what career path that they go down. Now, back in my days when I was doing a lot of middle school career exposure at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we would use certain programs like career cruising. That's just one example of many out there where students take certain, mini tests and answer questions, and then they get a small selection of, possible careers that they might be interested in. This one always fascinated for me, though. This is an example picture of what was shown as to be the life of an engineer and the career. So typically you see a stock photo like this, someone sitting at a computer. Our panelists today pointed out to me that, yeah, you probably wouldn't be using a Mac either, but they're doing some type of design, CAD, they're in an office setting. And that is what some of these programs are conveying to young people. This is what an engineer does. And that is more often than not, it's not the case. Really, engineers need to have those mechanical aptitudes. They need to be able to understand what they're actually, how to build what they're designing. CAD is a really important skill set, but being able to understand things like tolerances and how something that you design in the virtual world can efficiently be produced in the real world. Those are invaluable skills. And more often than not, what we hear from employers is that students that come out of really strong high school CTE programs, or come out of 1 to 2 year programs, or come out of polytechnic universities, a lot of times those students tend to be more useful to a company than students coming out of a high level 4-year engineering program, just because they have that experience with working with advanced technology. Now, over the last several years, that mindset has changed, and we're seeing a huge growth in terms of university programs developing more technology-based experiences for their students. but really for our young people to get exposed to what a true engineer does, and it doesn't matter what the field, they're going to be working with a lot of really cool technology and advanced technical aptitudes. We also talk a lot about at ATS Lab Midwest, what influences a student's career choice. And I know a lot of you might have seen a graph similar to this where, several years ago, a survey was done with, over 50,000 Skills USA participants. And they were asked, what was the biggest influence on their career choice? And here you see on screen the same different answers that most people would respond with for their father, mother, teacher, maybe a friend, but 3 times higher than anything else, it's their own interests and experiences while they're in school, while they're in middle school and high school. That's really a big influencer on what a student chooses to go into or to pursue once they get out of high school. We also like to highlight Brad Thorpe, who is an automated robotics instructor at Hennepin Technical College. He once did his master's thesis on this very question. What is the biggest influence on a student's career choice? And he actually was able to identify 5th and 6th grade is really where students start to turn on or off certain careers, where they might say, no, that's a boy's job, or no, that's not for me. I don't like working with, that particular piece of technology. It's really, we need to start exposing our students to all these different career paths at a young age and build upon that in a high school program. And then moving towards, those different careers as an engineer, we often see, and it gets recognized nationally. Skills USA several years ago identified automation engineer as the 4th happiest job in the United States. And I guarantee you there's a lot of aspiring juniors and seniors who are trying to figure out what they're going to do when they go to school, or what are they going to do after high school. They probably don't even know that this job exists. And really, these are highly skilled workers. They're working with awesome technology. They have great compensation, and employers really value their expertise. Fast forward to today, I believe it was USA Today also highlighted, in the top 100 careers in the US right now, in the top 25 even, they highlighted mechanical engineer, information security analyst, data scientist, software developer. So when we look at any of these STEM careers, these are highly sought after positions that we need to do a lot more exposure at the high school level. And with all of these different positions, yes, students are valuable with math, high-level math, physics, being able to, students that are at the top of their class, that is so important. All of these positions require bachelor's degrees, but what we're seeing more and more is all of these positions require a really strong background in working with advanced technology and being able to understand what's actually being utilized out in the workplace. So right now, it's just an extreme pleasure of mine to be able to introduce our guests for today. We are very privileged to have 3 young gentlemen who are currently, they just finished up their first year at the university level. And they're from Plymouth High School, from an awesome CTE program there, working with engineering, a lot of great partnerships, great friends of ours. So I think just to kick things off, I would like to introduce our panelists for us today. So I'll start off with you, Alex. Why don't you tell us, and then everyone else follow, why don't you tell us who you are, what university you're currently at, what's your major, and what would you like to do after you graduate? So go ahead, Alex.
Well, hi, my name is Alex Odie. I am a aerospace engineering student at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. And after I graduate, I'd like to work on rocket technology and potentially aerodynamics just in general.
Awesome, fascinating. Kyle, why don't you go next?
Yeah, so my name is Kyle Kraus. I'm a mechanical engineering student at Northwestern University. And after college, I'm looking to do something in the transportation industry, particularly possibly in the EV movement.
Excellent, very good. Thank you for being here. And then Jacob, last but not least.
All right, I'm Jacob Ashworth. I'm studying computer science at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. And after I graduate there, I'll probably move on to a graduate program to work with machine learning and AI.
Incredible. That is fascinating. Well, again, we're super excited for all three of you to be here. And I know you're taking a lot of time out of your busy schedules, your summer internships and work schedules. We'll get to that shortly. But I just want to pose the first question. Alex, why don't you answer this one for us? How did you first get the opportunity to work with industrial robotics at Plymouth High School? This will be one example of a lot of the great work that you've done in that program. But why don't you tell us how that first started out for you?
Yeah, of course. It started out in our engineering curriculum. We had a class called Computer Integrated Manufacturing. Jacob and I took that our junior years of high school. And I believe Kyle took it his senior year. But during that year, the Sargento company had actually donated a FANUC robot, the same kind of robot that we used at the Team Robotics Competition, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. This class was typically about CNC manufacturing and other related industrial robotics, but this was the first time we actually got to use this production manufacturing technology, which we were so thankful that we got the opportunity to do. So yeah, I was in a class at the PLTW curriculum.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah. And I believe your program has built a ton of great industry partnerships, especially with PLTW. I believe Kohler was a big benefactor to, working with that robotics program and making sure to get that into your school, but also a consortium of incredible manufacturers in your area. And I love the fact that you participate in PLTW courses that were using authentic technology within your program. So you identified the FANUC platform, and that's kind of one of the major examples we'll be talking about today. But so you enjoyed working with that so much that the three of you decided to do an independent study capstone course during your senior year. Why don't, Jacob, why don't you start out and tell us about that?
All right, so during the second semester of my senior year, I worked with Mr. Sherman on the robot. So it was really newer to our school. We had only gotten it working the previous year, so we were more exploring what we could do. So I started out, I made just a simple tic-tac-toe program, which we'll show to like the middle schoolers when they tour our school. They really enjoy playing tic-tac-toe against it. And then it just kind of evolved from there. We went on to try to get the vision system working, which we had varying levels of success with, but then we ended up making that big hangman program.
Awesome. Kyle and Alex, anything to add to that? How did you get involved with the capstone program?
Yeah, so it was Jacob's capstone class specifically, but as we had all had some experience with the robot in the past, we would drop in and help him out with what he was working on. We were all really eager to learn more about the robot and can never miss up on an opportunity to skip a class you don't like and hop in and help Jacob.
Awesome. Yeah, and you all have an incredible instructors there that I know that were working with you throughout this whole project for your senior year, and they were kind of cultivating you along the way. So it's really cool to see all of you come together and collaborate on that. In fact, you didn't drive each other crazy, and you liked working with each other so much that you participated in the 2019 robotics competition that was held at WIMTS that year, and you placed in the top 3 of over 20 teams that participated across the state. Tell us about that experience and what was the most challenging part, and also what was your most favorite part?
Yeah, still a bit of a sore spot. We definitely should have placed first, but it was a fun experience. It was really cool to take our skills that we had learned in the classroom to a setting where we were given a challenge that we wouldn't know in advance, and we could really see how much we had learned and compare it to some of the other schools. And I know for me, it was super encouraging to see that our program in just kind of a smaller high school could match some of the tech high school programs in the state. And it was a little bit of a challenge because the robot was a tiny bit different than ours and it was a crunch time setting. So it was definitely a rush, but it was really fun to compete and to get that third place.
Absolutely. Alex, anything to add?
Yeah, for sure. As Kyle said, it was a great opportunity, and how we were able to see that with, in a smaller setting, we could match schools with much more resources. The most challenging part for me, in my opinion, was how hard it was to get everything to come together in the problem solving aspect, because the task itself wasn't that hard. We just had to draw 3 numbers on the thing. But it was the process of coordinating everything and the skills of working together, which was the most challenging for me.
Yeah, and you definitely were on a time crunch, if I recall. That was a 3-hour session. You were given a challenge that you have never seen before. You had to document your programs, and you all had some great experience beforehand, but it's definitely the real world setting that you were put to the test in that particular challenge. Jacob, anything to add on your experience with the robotics competition?
Yeah, we definitely overcomplicated it when we went there because we came in thinking this challenge is going to be easy. So we decided to do everything as an offset of a single point, which
Sure.
was not a brilliant idea, but I think we all learned from that and we definitely went on to make better things afterwards.
I cannot agree more, because I know you might not have gotten the result that you hoped in that particular project, but I'll tell you, your experience and your work after that, and you definitely took what you've learned from that competition and did some real incredible projects related to working with that same industrial robotic. Yeah, the program that I'm thinking of is you actually created a program that allowed a person just to walk up to the robot and play hangman against the robot. How did you get that idea?
Yeah, so we were all a bit frustrated after the robotics competition, and we really wanted to see what we could do with the robot. We had, throughout the year, kind of been building up our skills and started with some simpler programs. And after the competition, I believe we moved on to a program that would allow us to write words, as you can see in that picture. You could just type in whatever you wanted, and the robot would draw it for you. And once we did that, the next logical step, we thought, to complicate it a bit, was to allow you to play hangman against the robot. So that was a task we spent a couple of weeks on, but we figured it out, and it was a pretty cool program.
I agree completely. You're actually using an IO simulation box where someone could walk up to it and put in their answers, and the robot would then make a decision based off of the input that it received. But I'm definitely, that's way over my head in terms of programming. So why don't you walk through a little bit how that program works and how you're able to come up with that?
All right. So the program starts by someone will actually take that main controller and put in whatever their hidden word is. And the robot will already have its marker. So it'll draw the hangman thing and it'll draw a bunch of dashes where the letters are supposed to be. And it has the main program logic loop kind of has 2 steps. One is where it'll wait for a user to put input into the IO box. And then the other is where it'll actually draw part of the hangman if you get it wrong, or the letters that you got right if you got it right. And one of the most challenging parts of this program wasn't actually the drawing, because the entire robot's set up very well to move around, draw things, and be precise because it's an industrial robot. That's what it's built for. But any of the logic using the words, like detecting what letters in a certain place, is not really something it's built for. So that was one of the biggest challenges. We ended up having to have the whole alphabet in a single string and then just repeatedly check our words against that. It was a really good learning experience, but it was tough to actually get it running and work out all the bugs.
I believe it. And if our viewers can notice, there's a pretty large packet of the program and everything that went into building this particular project. This just goes well above and beyond anything that would have been taught or learned from at that competition or within the general curriculum, work with the robot, but you're right. It showcases all of the incredible applications that you can utilize this platform for. So, building off of that, has your experience in working with an industrial robotics platform like this, has this had an impact on your choice of major or your career interests as you are currently in a 4-year university program?
I actually already knew I was probably going into computer science when I worked with this, but I think this really helped me confirm, like, yes, this is what I want to do in the future, because I really enjoyed working on it. I would sometimes even stay up through lunches and work on the program just because I really wanted to get it done.
Yeah, I would echo exactly what Jacob said. I come from an engineering family. I knew I was going to be an engineer, but especially putting that challenge of the Hangman program out in front of us and then completing it was so rewarding. It confirmed for sure that I wanted to do this with my.
Yeah, more or less agree with what Kyle and Jacob had to say. Knew I was going to be an engineer in elementary school, and working with this has not only done what Kyle and Jacob had suggested, but also given me, opened my eyes to the struggles and the what needs to happen in a manufacturing setting.
Yeah, that's fascinating responses from all of you. But Alex, that really kind of hits the nail on the head, where taking that high level math, high level computer science, but giving these real world applications and utilizing advanced technology, that just must have. I love the fact that it opened your eyes to all these different opportunities that are out there. So, I mean, how do you think your experience compares to your current university classmates who maybe have not had all the firsthand experience that you've been getting and working with an industrial robotics platform? How do you think that compares to your classmates?
So the thing at college that most surprised me was how ahead I was of everybody else. Going to a small school with not a ton of resources, I had so much more hands-on experience with CNC machines, with welding, with the robot, all these things that are incorporated into a lot of our coursework at the university, but are also things that I already knew. So that gave me, I would say, at least almost a year of educational advantage over a lot of my fellow freshman classmates who came in with a lot of basic AP classes and non-hands-on classes that didn't apply so much to an actual manufacturing setting.
Yeah, to echo what Kyle said, I think I was the only one in all of my engineering classes that had ever even touched an industrial robot, let alone like a CNC machine, which is something that at Plymouth High School and other high schools like it, we take kind of for granted that we have access to these machines. And like Kyle said, going into university, this gave me a distinct advantage over people who needed to not only learn the fundamental skills, the math and the science and the physics behind everything, but also how to make it work in a practical setting.
I would also say it really helped going into career fairs and trying to get an internship, having this experience, because colleges, it's like this for computer science, and I'm pretty sure it's like this for mostly every major. They focus really heavy on the theory and really close to all the math and everything, try to get you to understand that. It's not necessarily what employers want, though. It's very important, but they really like having the actual practical experience, working through problems and trying to figure them out when you're more on your own than having the entire problem set up for you.
Well, I love all of the examples you shared, because the really cool part about this is, yes, we're using industrial robotics as an example, but you're all going into different advanced career areas, computer science, aerospace engineering, and you're all highlighting what employers that you're hearing from within your internship and what they're looking for. And I love the fact that you're bringing up, your program was unique in that it was a lot of great engineering coursework, but your instructors and your programs, they made sure that you understood those advanced technological aspects of, that kind of what engineering gets utilized for. So on that note, what advice do you have for, a high schooler who thinks they want to go into engineering or some other type of STEM career? In college, what courses should they be exploring, or what should they be looking at as they're kind of figuring out where they want to go and what they want to do?
Make sure you like math, at least if you're going to a four-year college. But I think in high school, especially if they offer classes that get you any hands-on experience, no matter what it is, definitely step into one or two of those classes at least, because you don't want to end up going through potentially all of your high school career and most of your college career without ever getting any hands-on experience, and then ending up in the workforce and realizing that that's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that you have that foundation early on. And I think it definitely also, like we said earlier, those classes just give you an advantage in high school, or I mean, in college, and gaining internships. But I would also say don't solely focus on STEM. It's still high school. You definitely want a wide berth of classes. I know that's also helped me in college. So you want the best of both worlds. You want to balance it out. But if they offer hands-on, definitely take advantage, because that's a pretty, from my experience, that's not offered at a lot of high schools around the country.
And I would also add on, make sure to take classes that develop your critical thinking skills, as critical thinking and problem solving is, from my experiences in college, has been very critical to have any sort of success. And also, I would plug First Robotics Competition. That really helped me. I know Jacob and I competed in that, and talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, First Robotics, I would say, helped me more than any individual class in high school, because you got to see so many different technologies working and actually do anything you wanted with them, which isn't something you ever really see in a class. So even if your school doesn't have classes that directly take you into hands-on robotics or manufacturing or something like that, there's always other things you can do. There's extracurriculars, like there's a lot of racing teams where you'll build a race car at high schools. Getting into one of those would be a great idea. Anything you can do to just explore more and on your own time, just really get to know what you're going to do in the future is really helpful.
Wow, you've all highlighted some just incredible recommendations for young people as they explore these different careers. Love the use of using critical thinking to be able to hone in those skills as you're given a problem, because that's what happens in the real workplace. And I know you're all experiencing that right now with your summer internships. So awesome responses, guys. I believe we do have some time left for a couple of questions from our audience. So I'm going to kick it over to Melissa, and hopefully she will be able to share some of the questions that are coming in from our viewers.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. And guys, go ahead and take these as you feel comfortable answering them. So first question coming from our audience. When you take calculus, physics courses at your university, did your experience with the hands-on robotics in high school give you an added real-world applied context for all of that theory?
Yeah, it definitely did. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot, especially moving on to some of the higher level math and science classes in college, is I'm seeing all of these different theories, but I'm also learning all these different manufacturing methods, and I can already see the connections between them, and it makes the theories a lot easier to understand, and it also makes you want to understand it more because you're understanding what it's actually doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kyle. Internships. Have any of you had internship experience related to your major, and how has that experience gone?
So I'm in a software engineering internship at Direct Supply right now, and the internship has been great for me And I would actually say the most surprising thing about it is it feels a lot more like an extracurricular, like first robotics or something, as opposed to a class. Because in a class, you'll be given a problem and you'll know how to solve it. You'll just have to solve it. Whereas a lot of times in the real world, there will be a problem and you'll be on your own. You'll have to research what technologies there are to solve the problem, figure out which one's the best one, and actually apply it, which just makes hands-on experience so much more useful.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacob. All right, final question for you guys. The COVID experience. You guys spent your freshman year of college going through the whole COVID pandemic. So tell us first, how did the COVID pandemic affect your first year of university, and what are you most looking forward to as you go into your second year that might be a little bit more normal?
Yeah. Issues with schooling during the COVID pandemic was most likely, the majority of the issues stemmed from lack of hands-on class experience, which we greatly benefited from with our experience in industrial robotics. Having less hands-on experience at the college setting was detrimental to me, at least. I'm sure Kyle and Jacob feel the same way. And hopefully next year, returning to more or less normal, the return of in-person, hands-on engaging experiences, which actually test the knowledge you learn in classes. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of that. All of our classes were remote, so learning was definitely more difficult. But I still did participate in Formula Club, which built a race car, and we were able to be in person for that. So I still got a taste of some of the actual manufacturing applications that I learned a lot in high school. And that makes me look forward a lot to getting back to normal classes next year. Hopefully I can keep refining those skills.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, you guys have been great. Thank you so much for taking some time from your afternoon to spend sharing your experience with us. I will leave it to Mike to wrap things up for us this afternoon.
Fantastic. Well, again, I'll echo Melissa's statements. Thank you so much for being on with us today. Gentlemen, it was such a great opportunity to work with you while you were at Plymouth High School, to work with your instructors and work with your administrators. And it's just really, this is why we get up in the morning every day, is to see, you know, the work that you've done in high school and within your program, and see it be applied out in the real world, out in a career. That's what it's all about. And we're just extremely excited to hear about what your future holds. And we'll definitely have to do this again sometime and see where you end up on your career paths. I think the opportunities are endless for you. You are all extremely valuable candidates, no matter what company gets the opportunity to employ you. So thank you all again for being on with us. And thank you all for joining us here today at Webinar Wednesday. We will surely catch you soon next week, same time, 2 o'clock Central, for our next episode. And until then, we hope you all have a great week.